Good morning, everyone. I'm Holger, quite responsible for the product here at ownCloud. And together with the team, I have the great pleasure this morning to walk you now through a lot of the victories from last year, a lot of the challenges, and also the roadmap and things which are ahead of us in many, many ways. I think you have all seen there is a really busy schedule here for today and also the next 2 days afterwards. I really hope you will be able to visit a lot of those additional sessions. A lot of the things we're showing now, where we very often can lose a sentence, maybe on some things 5 minutes, and on others maybe just a word. You will be able to get that in way more deeper and intense detail in those sessions. Where we have a chance and where we remember what's in the schedule, we will actually try to make sure we point it out. Already sorry to everybody, we might forget during that time, but we hope we are able to walk you through most of those things. As you've already heard, the team has grown quite a bit, and with great pleasure I'm able to introduce to you somebody who was already with us last year but not in the same position. Let's welcome our Chief Technology Officer and Head of Engineering, and doing all the nice technical work and now able to present together with his team, and then he also has the nice responsibility to support it afterwards for our customers with another team. Felix Böhl. And then somebody who started last year in Berlin, it was, I think, his first week. Yes. Right? So in Berlin, his first week, he's our product manager, Patrick Meyer. And always busy at his computer because he has a lot of the interfaces is what Michael takes care of. Michael Still, he does the desktop client, the mobile user interfaces, and he holds all of those things together and also has the nice ability to support it, and that's Michael Still. I was kind of not willing to do all the 2 hours with you on my own. That's why we're going to change throughout the presentation at the right areas and give you the right content from the best people suited for that at the right time. However, I will try to point out a couple of other people, but you'll see them on the schedule very much. We have, I see one right in front of me, so I have to introduce you. Peter Prochaska, he is our security expert, right here. The others, I don't see right now. Okay, so in any case, that's the team, and yesterday we came to get in the new office. About 50 people. Quite some people said, wow, that's quite large. And it also means a lot of new people. I would say about a third of those people have not been with ownCloud a year ago. So we've been able to hire a lot of people into the server team in particular, into other teams. A lot of people joined us newly, but there is also quite some who are with us for quite some time in the meantime. In total, we're about 60 people worldwide, about 40 of those with engineering skills, really working on the different areas of ownCloud. And of course, we are joined by more than 100, probably 250, 300 contributors around the globe who help us on various areas, translations. They come up with great ideas, they discuss with us in GitHub about product design, about features. They give very, very valuable feedback. And we also have very continuous discussions with many, many customers. And as an example of the probably more than 400 innovations and fixes and new things which have gone into the newest ownCloud server, I would say about a third really came from direct customer feedback, where customers told us, yeah, it's kind of cool, but my users are confused by this button which happens to be in the left corner rather than the right corner, or it should really be named this so people don't get confused. Of course, I and the team are not able to design a product by input by just one customer, and it would be a very bad decision to design and design a product and implement something just based on one customer feedback. So it's our task in product management in particular to really understand what all of the community wants, what all of our engineers think about something, at least the ones who voice their mind, what all the community members who voice their mind think about a particular issue, and then find a solution which really, really works for the market and for all of you, and that's what we're trying to achieve all the time and in a continuous way. So with that, let's go into ownCloud, into the newest versions, what's new there. I'm quite sure quite some of you have not seen those items yet in action, so we'll try to walk you through that. But I'm always starting off with the vision. The product starts at an area where we want to go to, right? This is where we have to start, this is where we're coming from, and we're an open platform for more productivity and security in digital collaboration. That's what we're trying to achieve. We have now worldwide users of more than 14 million. It's, I think, a great number. And many, many installations around the world. Of course, some paid for by customers, others, many, many from the community, quite some from us as well. They mostly focus around a private cloud experience, an on-premise experience, an experience which is more secure, with high quality, and which is enterprise ready. That's really what we drive towards. And I think particular to the area of open platform will come back quite a little when we talk about all the possible extensions we have around ownCloud and what we're doing there. So besides the vision, there are a couple of design goals we continue to follow. Number one really has the end user in mind. It's always about being frictionless. Frictionless for us means very easy to use, very intuitive in all the different user interface areas. It means the ability for users to get stuff done, to do things in a self-service way, and it means for the administrator also to get the things done he needs to get done in a very easy way. And what it's all about? It's all about access. It's about access to data, it's about access to documents, it's about making sure that when you have documents and files in different silos across your enterprise today or your small organization, you can access all of those through ownCloud. That includes even other cloud services like Dropbox or Google Drive or OneDrive, which you can just mount into ownCloud and access through it. It also includes Windows Network Drive and other things, all of those items which can be accessed through ownCloud and the different interfaces we have. All of that shall happen in a secure way, in a compliant way, in a way which protects your privacy as a private user. And this is where administrators are of high importance, where IT, as far as that exists, is of high importance, and where a lot of integrations also happen on the ownCloud side. That starts typically with authentication through directory service like OpenLDAP or Active Directory. It continues with things like multi-factor authentication or single sign-on with a protocol called SAML, and a lot of other integrations which typically happen, and some of them are kind of challenging for us, particularly ones which are sometimes used by large enterprises, like as an example F5, which I have there, which is a web application firewall, where all the WebDAV requests of ownCloud need to go through, and we need to make sure they're not stuck somewhere in that whole system. And who is familiar with that, we have quite some fights once in a while with those type of setups and debugging that infrastructure, and then taking care that our requests really go all the way towards the end user and the server. Our need is to enable the administrator to do his job. That means not being in the way of the user who wants to do his intuitive, frictionless experience, who wants to have a self-service experience, but control what the end user does. And if needed, interrupt at the right ways, and we have different abilities to do that. Federation continues to be more and more important. Over time, we want to build out that also towards replication, which is something we don't do today. Give you some ideas about that at the very end. But already today, all the ownCloud servers in the world, and not only ownCloud servers, but everybody who adheres to the so-called Open Cloud Mesh standard, which is fostered by a European organization called Gironde. Every cloud service or every file sync and share and collaboration solution which adheres to that standard can federate with ownCloud as well as with all the other offerings which support that. What does that mean? It means that my ownCloud server, your ownCloud server can be connected. I can share with users in your ownCloud server, and when I do public links to your users, they can see that right in their own cloud. And that's the feature of federation. And our newest addition on this kind of product design direction is the ownCloud Marketplace. The ownCloud Marketplace is something we announced last year. Quite some people might still be familiar with apps, ownCloud.com. That one will finally be discontinued by the end of October. And the new marketplace is born. It's still in beta state right now, but we'll fix that at the beginning of October, roughly. And there's at least one talk by Florian and Patrick, I think, on the marketplace in particular. What's it about? It's all about extensibility. Extensibility means that this open platform we're providing with ownCloud shall be extended by you, by others, by corporations, by community members with additional functionality which makes sense for all of us. And we call this additional functionalities ownCloud apps. We have ourselves taken care of that a lot of the functions which we originally built inside the ownCloud servers have been taken out. So you can, in the meantime, I think about 25 ownCloud apps are from ownCloud itself, where we have provided extensions like LDAP as an example, or new things we have done like the guest app or the custom application. This marketplace has the additional ability that people can promote applications there, that you can do a trial of our enterprise offerings. So last year we were asked a lot, so how do I actually get access to these enterprise pieces of ownCloud? How does that work? We've made that one way, way more easy. So when you go to marketplace.ownCloud.com, you can right now get a free 30-day trial. And in case you happen to be at a non-profit organization or something, or have a particular use case for a longer trial, just contact me here at the conference or afterwards. And I'm sure we'll find some way to also extend that for you and get you access to those things. And that's what's important about an open platform, right? We want to be an open platform, which also means you have to access items, even the parts which might be under commercial license, rather than an open source license. With that, let me stop talking and give the mic to Patrick for a nice overview about the ownCloud 10.03 innovations. We have delivered 10.03 just yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday we announced it and delivered it, and everybody's able to download that now. And Patrick will show you quite some of the new functions of ownCloud 10.
Thank you, Holger. So I'm Patrick, and as Holger mentioned, I worked for ownCloud for about a year, but I've been engaged with ownCloud for a lot longer, around about 4 years. I'm driving my own server and engaged with the community. So yeah, previously I've also been a community member, but I'm excited as it's my second conference, and yeah, now I'm way more into the topics and looking forward to interesting discussions with all of you the next days. So much about me. Now I would like to directly take you and dive deep into ownCloud 10. Therefore, I'm going to leave the presentation now and jump over to my browser, where you already can see ownCloud 10. So ownCloud 10 has been released in May, and what I'm particularly showing you is the user-facing, most interesting features that ownCloud 10 brought. And also, this is ownCloud 10.03, which, as Holger said, we just released this week, so this is brand new, fresh stuff. So, as you can see, we also changed the background image. This is the way you can identify the current ownCloud version. So I'm going to log in with the administrator account to show you the first user-facing change, and this is the redesign of the settings page. So previously we had two entries here in this menu for the settings, one for the personal user settings and one for the admin settings, and this has changed into one point, which is simply called settings. So you don't have two different ways to reach settings, but only one. And if you navigate in there, you see this nice navigation panel where it's differentiated between personal or user settings and the admin settings that, of course, only the admin can see. Previously, this has only been a long list of mixed up sections for configuring everything around your user account and also the admin settings for apps, for example. Now this is very structured and provides an awesome overview, in my opinion. And yeah, you can, for example, easily find sharing configurations by clicking here, and you have everything. Makes it way easier for the admin to find stuff. And yeah, also, maybe some of you remember that the app settings have been here in the app launcher before. Those are also consolidated here in the apps section. So far on this point, the next thing I would like to show you is the redesign of the sharing dialog. So yeah, if you want to share a file, you simply click it, I think most of you know, and navigate to the sharing section. So previously, this also, quite similar to the settings, has been a long list where all kinds of shares were mixed through. So you had user shares, you had group shares, you also had public link shares in one long list, and the less experienced user, I'd say, had a hard time differentiating them. So now we have those nice tabs. On the one hand, the user and group shares. For example, I can create a share with Alice. Then you can see, just as before, you have those shares here, and also group shares would be here. And here we have the other section for the public links, which is a nice differentiation that provides better overview and makes it way easier for less experienced users to differentiate between the share types, and also to stay in overview if you have lots of shares for one file or folder. So next thing I want to show you are the custom groups. This is an actual ownCloud app which is available on the marketplace. For that, just log out and log in as Bob. What's the use case? Maybe at first. Use case is you share frequently with a group of people. If you wanted to do that previously or also now without that app, you always had to go to your administrator and tell them, please add this group, please add this and that person to that group, and if the set of members should change, you also had to approach the admin. So this was quite uncomfortable for users, and right now we have the custom groups app, which takes over and makes it easy for a user to create their own groups. You need to differentiate between the so-called system groups or ownCloud groups because they have kind of a different use case. You can use them for the same, like sharing with a group of people, but also you can do administrative tasks, like, for example, restricting apps to certain groups. You can't do this with custom groups. They are only for sharing purposes. So let me show you. You navigate to the settings as a user, and then you have this nice entry here, custom groups. Here you don't have any groups yet, so I'm adding one. I call that friends. Create the group, and here you see a nice list. If there were more groups, you would have all groups listed here where you are a member, where this user is a member. And yeah, you can change the name here, you can delete the group, and here you can add other users. So for example, as you know it from the sharing dialog, you also have auto-completion here. I just entered an A, I can add Alice, and I can also add Carol if I want. So I have those 3 users here in the group, can of course delete them, and also we have a role model concept, so to say. Can be a group owner, which has all permissions on the group, changing names, deleting the group, adding, removing users and stuff. And you can also just be a member, which lets you see the other members and lets you share with the group. So if you are a group owner, you can simply click on this pencil and you change the permissions of the other user. And now that we created this nice group, we can go back to the files view and share this ownCloud manual file with the friends group. Easy as this. So far about the custom groups. Next thing I want to show you are multiple public links per file or per folder. Therefore, I just use this photo folder, navigate to the public links sharing section, and you can see here there are currently no link shares, so I'm going to create one. Previously, you had only the option to set one public link per file or per folder, which was quite inflexible, so we added here the possibility to create multiple ones. This means that you can send links to different persons with, for example, different permissions or different passwords or also different expiry dates. So before, this was kind of an issue because when you sent a password-protected link to one person and you wanted to send that to another person, you would have to tell the password. Because, or you revoke it and create a new one, but then the other person wouldn't have access anymore. So this is solved now. You can do whatever you want. You can choose a password, you can choose expiry dates, save it. You can even also choose another name. If you say, this is for grandma, and grandma she knows what she does, she can allow editing. You can allow editing. So, yeah. And this also provides you the possibility to selectively revoke such public links. So you say, the first one, yeah, it's not used anymore, or it shouldn't be used anymore, then you just remove it. And done. Grandma still has access as you configured it. Of course, you can also edit those as you are used to. So this provides a lot more flexibility. And yeah, brings me to the next point, which is the guests app. This is a really, really cool new feature, also as an app on the marketplace. And yeah, the use case is mid or long-term sharing with externals. Externals meaning people that don't yet have an ownCloud account. You could say you could also do this with the public link, but the guests app provides a lot more options for this user. That's why I say long-term sharing, because a guest becomes an actual ownCloud user in the database. They can log in, they can use clients, they can, if you are an enterprise customer, you can also audit these users, meaning you can trace all the actions these users do, which is very important for most of our customers. To show you the flow, it's quite easy. You navigate to the user and group shares, and all you have to do now to share with, I could share with anyone in the room now, but I will use my private mail address to show you. This is, I just enter this mail address and it doesn't work. Nice. Awesome. Okay. Like the presentation effect, probably, or whatever. I can tell you how it works. You just enter this mail address and you get a suggestion to add this user as a guest. If you click on that, this user receives an email containing an activation link. And if he clicks that link, he gets directed to ownCloud in the browser, can choose a password, and yeah, can log in. You can then, this user can then just use the mail address as username and the password as, password. The password he chose themselves. Can use that as long as they want, or as long as they have shares. That's maybe an important point still to mention. If a guest does not have any shares left, he will be disabled. So he cannot log in anymore. So this is a question that comes up frequently. If I invite a guest, I want to have the ability to delete this guest. But this is problematic with the concept of guests, because it might have happened that another user shared with that guest. And if you delete him, the other user won't know that this guest doesn't exist anymore. And this is problematic, which is why we bound the ability to use this account to the shares. Also, we are still working a lot on this app, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming in the near future. So yeah, you just need to stay tuned on our communication channels, and you will receive nice updates on these apps. Next one I want to show you is the default sharing permissions. So when talking about sharing permissions, I mean I'm sharing this again with others. So these are the sharing permissions here for user shares. In the past, those, as you can see, were set to all ticked. All permissions are given if you establish a share with the user. This means, on the one hand, if you don't want that, and you remove those permissions, in the first couple of seconds, those permissions are given. You can't do anything against that. So actually, or theoretically, if a user had instant access, he could delete the file. And you can't do anything against that. So the other thing is that many users, less experienced users, they might oversee that permissions are given. So as an admin, you might want to have a conservative policy, giving only sharing permissions, for example. For that, I have to log in as admin, of course. Navigate to the settings panel, and in the sharing section, you now see those cool default user and group share permissions. So you could say you remove the ability to create, to change, to delete, and also to share. And now, navigating back to the files view, taking this folder, and again trying to share with Alex. Those are all unticked. So now the user has to consciously set the permissions they want. So this is a nice improvement, mainly for administrators trying to guide their users or to help them not doing any bad stuff they actually didn't want to. Okay, next is the file drop feature, which actually is not new. It has been introduced with ownCloud 9.1, but it was an app which is now integrated with core. So it comes with the core. You don't have to install it separately. And also it has been reworked. At first, what is the use case? The use case is you want to gather sensitive data from externals. Meaning, you want to have a public link which you can send to a lot of people. For example, I could send it to all the people in the room. Everyone could then use this link to upload files in that folder, but no one would see what the other people uploaded there. This is, for example, very interesting in procurement, where you just have invoices there. Everybody, or every external puts invoices there, but no one sees the invoices others put there. To show you this, I take this documents folder, go to the public link section, create it, and then of course I have to give edit permission. For that, people can upload in there. And then I have the option to if I want to show the file listing or not. And that's the point. I remove that permission, create that link, and then I copy it, log out to simulate that I'm somebody else. Use it, and then I have this anonymous upload here. Here it says click to select or drag and drop. You can also use your file browser and drag a file in there easily. I will click it and take the presentation we're just doing, upload it there, and you see here the uploaded files. And then I go back to who I am actually, which was the admin user. Go to the documents folder. And there you have it. There is presentation. And as you saw, you didn't see the file listing. So this is, collecting, sensitive data from a lot of people. This helps our customers a lot. And it's also for the community use case, a cool thing, I guess. Last but not least, it's also an app which we call impersonation. This is a feature that helps admins to do configurations for users that might have issues somewhere in an understanding. And probably it's best if I just show you. As admin, you of course have the users management. You go there, and if you have the impersonate app installed, which is also available through the marketplace, you will see those icons here for every user. For example, if we pick Alice, I just have to click on this button. Cannot impersonate. Great. Then I take Bob. I can impersonate Bob. Okay. Not sure why, but never mind. So now you see this yellow message here that I'm logged in as Bob now. So you actually see what Bob sees when he logs into his account, and you can also go into the settings and configure everything for Bob, just as Bob would do it. You can create app passwords, you can add external storages, for example, if that is allowed, and so on. So if Bob has a question he cannot solve himself, you can just call him, or he can call you as an admin, and you can do that easily. You might say, that sounds strange to me in regards of data protection laws, and I would agree. But the point is, we have plans for the future to change that, to make this requestable. For example, Bob could send me as admin a request, or also the other way around. Both ways should be possible, and only upon accepting that request, the admin gets access to the user account. So then it would comply to data protection laws, in Germany at least. Okay, I think one last thing. If I log out now, I'm back with the admin account. Okay, so far so good on ownCloud 10. Hand back, or go back to the presentation. And hand back to Michael. Thank you.
So, hello, welcome from my side too. We have quite a lot of new stuff in the on all the clients, and a lot of exciting stuff is coming to the client soon. So we managed to get more control about the Qt framework we are using. So we're now using Qt 5.6.2 for Windows and Mac and all Linux distributions, because we had problems with the distribution provided Qt. Nasty things happened there. So this is a big improvement about the reliability. But we also have more user visible features. We brought a lot of from the server features to all the clients, like private links. We now have multiple public links in all the clients, Android and desktop. So quite a lot of improvements. We brought also new stuff to the mobile clients, iOS and Android client will now support streaming of video files. So this is awesome if you have a huge video file, like half an hour long, and you skip 10 minutes, then this data is not transferred over your mobile data plan. So it jumps directly to this, and it only transfers the parts of the video you would like to watch. And another addition to the ownCloud platform, where we are very excited about, is the support for OAuth. OAuth is an industry standard secure authentication flow, which is widely used with many web applications. We use it in desktop and Android and iOS client. It is implemented in the server side. Yeah. It is implemented in the server side. It is an app that is available now on GitHub. You can just check out the master branch. It will be released in the marketplace soon. independent from the server release itself. It's included in the 2.4 desktop client. They are available in the nightlies. In the current Android beta we released on Play Store beta and F-Droid beta, so available for download, and are included in the next iOS release. Some of the basic concepts for OAuth. So the credentials of the user are no longer stored on the device. It's only this information that's related to the OAuth account. And on top of this, this helps us to achieve also easier handling of SAML scenarios, chiplet, single sign-on, and a lot of stuff. So in the future, it's still possible to use basic authentication with username and password. And the initial idea was to connect third-party applications like Moodle to ownCloud, but we use this for the whole platform now. So for more information, we have talk only about the new OAuth feature with Jörn. We have more detailed talk about the desktop clients later today. We also have a more detailed talk what's going on the mobile platform later today. So stay tuned. More detailed, exciting news. Okay.
Thanks, Michael. And yeah, you should definitely take that opportunity and go into the detailed talks afterwards, one on desktop, one on secure authentication flow, how we're calling this OAuth 2 feature officially. And particularly that one came from huge customer feedback. When we introduced the additional passwords for applications and generally our SAML workflow, a lot of customers said, oh, this is rather complex. It's not following open standards at this time. It's very user self-service centric. As an administrator, I don't have a lot of abilities to get in between it somehow and control things. So we think with this completely open standard based security authentication flow based on OAuth 2 will be much better able to fulfill those customer and communities requirements. And from that, we and our customers and users can do things like Moodle integration into other applications, and generally integrate themselves into those things. Outside of ownCloud, as said, we're an open platform. We enable others to extend the platform. I want to show you a couple of those examples now, which are all available right now. You can go to the marketplace and get those applications. There are additional abilities to download additional pieces, like from Collabora Online, outside of ownCloud. What Collabora Online delivers is collaborative editing right in the web browser for documents, spreadsheets, and presentations. And I think we have a very detailed talk about that from Michael Meeks, the founder and CEO and general manager of Collabora Online. I think that's tomorrow, so don't miss that one. And he will be able to show the most recent additions to Collabora Online, how things work, how documents are supported, how comments work, how changes can be tracked inside, and you can try it out right now. And in addition to that, there is also, Collabora Online is something we as a company also support and sell. There are other collaborative editing solutions, like as an example, OnlyOffice, also available in our marketplace. Another addition from a great partner of ours called BW Tech and their subsidiary EpicShare is the Outlook plugin for ownCloud. while I'm personally using Linux since like 97 now, and of course use Thunderbird and other things, there are many people, including employees of ownCloud, who love to use Outlook. They all live in this Outlook environment, and that's where they stay. And our customers continue to tell us, yeah, that's still reality. And unfortunately, still as of today, I think about 12 years after Dropbox came originally to market with this great idea of files sync and share in a very, very easy way, still today email is the most used file sharing tool in the world. So we need to get the users where they are. They are sitting in front of the Outlook environment. They want to share files via email. What they can do with the Outlook plugin for ownCloud, they can take that environment, go and with a couple of simple clicks use the public link functionality of ownCloud, and instead of sending the full document when they attach it, from the plugin they get automatically generated a public link which they are sending to the recipients. They can put a password next to it, in which case the recipient is getting 2 emails, one with the link and another one with the password afterwards. They can also use other methods, of course, to give them the password. They can put expiration dates there, so the link is only valid for 30 days. All of those great things can be done right in the tool those users prefer, instead of going into the ownCloud web front end and do it like Patrick was showing you just earlier. The marketplace has trial licenses available, or actually on our web pages you have trial licenses available of this tool as well. And then the newest addition to the ownCloud experience, which we offer as a company in cooperation with a partner, is ownCloud Enterprise end-to-end encryption. So what does that do? We got the feedback from our customers and users that it's great when they trust their administrators. It's great when we provide them abilities to encrypt files at rest with the master key functionality. By the way, we've put quite some effort into that area as well, so in the meantime you can also change those master keys, which was not be possible earlier. But a lot of people said, yeah, that's cool, but it's all server-side. For a full solution, I have some requirements around the confidentiality of my documents, which tell me that they need to be encrypted right at the desk of the customer, the desktop at the customer, and therefore provide an end-to-end encryption and come already encrypted to my server at entry. There are open source solutions for that. In our ownCloud blog, we have introduced one of them called Cryptomator, and you're very welcome to try that one out. We have also introduced a commercial offering called Boxcryptor for that, but here we have a new approach. This is an approach which happens right inside ownCloud, only works with ownCloud, and enhances the ownCloud browser experience as a starting point to give you the ability to generate a key pair, a private and a public link, right in my browser, and then I can share based on the public keys with other users which are on the same ownCloud server and who have also enabled that feature. So this is something you can try out. It really provides the highest levels of security. When this gets popular on the browser, we will certainly extend that capability on the desktop as well as on the mobile applications, but that's on the roadmap and will come over time. It's not a necessity, it's really for those type of users and customers who say, oh, my data is so confidential, I have certain compliance criteria to meet, I really need an end-to-end encryption solution. With that, let me cover a couple of other improvements we did around ownCloud 10.03. We've introduced PHP 7.1 support. We have introduced for the first time, and I think this was a request since I joined the ownCloud project, which is early 2012, people said, oh, it's a nightmare when I upgrade. I always have to go from major version to major version, but I'm still sitting on ownCloud 8.2 and I want to upgrade to 10.0 right away. I don't want to do 9.0, 9.1. This is now possible. We've introduced with the original release in May a upgrade migration process from 9.1 to 10.0, and now you can go all the way back to 8.2 and migrate forward in one step. And of course, the original introduction was from 9.0 to 10.0. From 1 to 1, it always worked. An additional piece for better performance in the database, we introduced a central user table that allows way less LDAP requests than we did before. Very popular in our customers somehow were using Redis for file locking. People asked us to introduce Redis cluster support, so we did. On the enterprise side, we completely redesigned the Windows network drive. We have introduced a Windows network drive listener, which takes care of all of those changes which happen on the Windows network drive or Samba side and propagates them towards ownCloud and the ownCloud server. This sounds very complex, and therefore there is a talk especially about that. So you might want to look at the schedule Windows network drive. I think it's full 45 minutes. That shows you the details from the developer who did that one and who can introduce it to you, of course, in the best way. A couple of very recent additions on the performance side, and some of them coming from direct customer experiences. First, we upgraded the file ID from 32-bit to 64-bit. Why? Because the first customer did hit the 32-bit limit, which meant they had many millions of file IDs in their system, and therefore we now upgraded it to 64-bit, which probably means it will take another 173 years or something like that for the next customer to hit it. If it's earlier, we'll have to figure something out. The other one on the database performance, together with one of our customers in Switzerland, we were able to reduce or to increase database performance in one particular area by 500%. That's also part of 10.03 now, and if you want to, then Jörn can really give you all the insights around it, as well as Boris, who is here from that customer. And then sometimes it's needed to do a file scan. So for a long time, one of our customers was complaining that the file scan with this particular user who has 476,000 files in 193,000 directories takes, I think it was 3.5 days roughly. With some optimizations, we brought this now down to an hour. So additional performance improvements you might or might not hit. Yeah? Typically, you might not, but then some of you have users with 1 million files, with more files, and that's where you're going to hit those boundaries. And you can see here how everybody else profits from such customers who are exploring the borders of the ownCloud performance. Quite some things were also done on the security side. We introduced file integrity checking. That's a very important feature which was available on the client side for one particular customer for a while. So we finally implemented that in the ownCloud server as well. So now the desktop client and the ownCloud server exchange hash information about, or check some information about files, and it's 100% assured that the integrity of the file which lands on the desktop is the same as the one which is on the server. Again, if you have 1,000 files, it's not very likely that something happens in between. But if you have millions of files, 100 millions of files, then such errors can happen. We had one of those errors in the network stack as an example where we debugged very hard to find it, but now with checksumming we're making 100% sure that this happens, and this is very unique actually in the whole file sync and share industry. We got some complaints about the typical log files we're doing, where some PHP errors and other things are intermingled with the user interactions. All the user interactions are logged with the admin and audit functionality. And one example, Patrick did show you the impersonation feature. When you impersonate in the log file, you actually see that you worked as an impersonation of somebody. So that's going transparent all the way down to the log file, but that's split off from all the error messages and warnings which are coming together. We're verifying some password changes now. You are able to disable and enable user accounts inside the admin GUI. The password policy was enhanced to now cover all the areas where password endpoints actually exist. We worked a bit on the default encryption behavior to make it less likely that people use a other encryption experience than the master key experience, which is really the one we recommend and prefer. The other at-rest encryption experience we have using the user password has been rather challenging with everybody who is using LDAP, an Active Directory, and has a 90-day password change policy, because people tend to forget the old passwords, in which case it was not possible to decrypt anymore. So we kind of don't recommend that anymore. We now, if people want to have encryption at rest, we recommend the master key functionality, and then, as said, we're extending this to end-to-end encryption with an additional product offering. There are different roles inside ownCloud, and we're going to have a talk rather detailed about that tomorrow, but one small thing, for the ownCloud administrator, it was possible to actually mount the local file system. That was just one click away. With that, it was not anymore the control of the system administrator what type of code was brought to that local file system, but in the control of the ownCloud admin. So we changed that. Again, more about that whole role concept tomorrow. Quite important to think about that if you are outside of a private or a very small setting. We have an ability with a web page which is called status.php to see which version of ownCloud you're actually using. That is something people told us as scans for that started, that not everybody likes that. So now, starting with 10.0, it's possible to hide the status PHP, and you do not need to show this anymore to the outside. We changed some ways to do that. The default behavior is still to show that. So for the very security intense installations, you might want to check that particular area and follow the documentation descriptions how things work. By the way, documentation is an area we've also invested in. There is Matthew Setter, who does take care of that now, and I think he also has a talk today about the ownCloud documentation. And when you want to help there or want to give feedback, what's not working in the documentation, what works in the documentation, you're welcome there. Deployment. A lot of people continue to tell us you need to make the deployment even easier. In the part, we probably have a third of all the calls around deployment issues in regards of we are consulting and fixing underlying technologies of ownCloud. That includes Apache settings, PHP settings, recommendations people have followed, what is the most secure Apache PHP installation, which then switches maybe off some features we need. we thought it's very important to make that one easier. So besides the tar files and the packages, we offer 2 additional and recommended ways of installing ownCloud and deploying ownCloud, which include all the underlying infrastructure in one thing. First, getting more and more popular, the Docker files and Docker images. This is something Thomas Berger and Felix also have a talk on, which is going in quite some detail. And this is officially maintained by us. We're doing user space security issues. We're doing updates all the time. We're using it, of course, for ourselves in our own QA process as well. So those Docker files, which also happen to be quite popular right now, are readily available. Another thing, our enterprise customers, a lot of people told us, yeah, make it even easier for me, but I don't have Docker yet. I'm not so experienced. I want to just have an appliance. I want to have an appliance which works on all the different virtualization environment I have. And together with Univention, and Nico Gulden is doing a talk about that this afternoon, we have introduced a ready to go, ready to be supported by us, ready to deploy enterprise appliance and also community appliance, of course, that already includes LDAP user management and other great features. And I'm sure Nico will show you all the nice add-ons which are available potentially, which include things like Collabora, the online collaboration for the Office suite, and also privacy ID and other things. The third one here on deployment, there are kind of 2 sets of actually 3 sets of ideas and customers who come to us and users who come to us around 2-factor and multi-factor authentication. Some already have a 2-factor, multi-factor authentication system from RSA, from Ping or other expensive enterprise offerings, so they have ADFS from Microsoft. Again, there is a talk on that and how to integrate that, I think, on Friday. And that's one side. We integrate with SAML there. Nice workflow will be even better with the secure authentication flow based on OAuth 2. That's one set of customers and users. The second set of customers and users says, yeah, I leave that to my users. They have the ability in their settings, if the so-called TOTP app is enabled, to just click there, get a QR code, and go to an app like Google Authenticator or something else which is based on that. However, that one has no administrator control. This is really self-service. The users have to do that themselves. You cannot force them to do it as an administrator. And then the third kind of group comes and says, I don't have any of those expensive enterprise solutions. I want to control things for my users. I want to give them something at hand which they don't, which I can control. And that's where an offering called Privacy ID, which is a full open source offering, comes into play. And again, there is a talk about that, I think, on Thursday. Yeah? So you can get from Cornelius Kölbel additional information on that one. And these are kind of the new things we've done on the deployment side. With that, Felix will cover some of the already happened and particularly the forward-looking release schedule.
Hello from my side. Yes, about the release schedule, we changed some things, right, with Marketplace. We have the ability to release apps at any time. That is a modular approach we want to heavily use. So when we have a new feature in an app, and QA is ready for that, we will release it on the Marketplace, independent of the server release. That is very cool for us because we are more flexible in our development planning, in our QA planning, and we can set a focus on certain aspects of the development or functionalities or fixing some stuff. That also empowers us to have a more stable product, of course. And with that, I'm very proud of the 10.0 release. And we released the 10.03 yesterday for you. We have improved very much in that release. It took a while for us to do that. That has two reasons. There was a huge amount of improvement and fixes we built into that 10.03 release. On the other side, we needed to change our process a little bit to introduce that flexibility in our internal processes. It took us a while. The good things about that is that we now can think about to offer a long-term supported version. Like the 10.0 is considered to be a LTS for you. So if you provided the feedback to us, which we got a lot, we don't want to update again. We want to have a longer support terms for a version. So we want to keep that version for a longer time. You can do this with a 10.0 now. We offer you to keep that version until 2020. So it's basically we are increasing from 1.5 years to we double the length of that support period for you for that version. This is upon your request. This is something we can do because this product is so stable and so modularized that we can have still changes and have the flexibility to react in this version. So there's no need for a very fast next major version. So if I want to change something in the LDAP app now, I can do this in that app, in that particular area, which is a module which is independent of the server code, of the server core in most regards. We will keep on working on this approach to be more flexible and to have more flexibility because of that modularization. There are still parts which are not very modular, so we are working on that. I have a great team doing that. That's really awesome. That this development team is very into getting this modularization into the product. That helps us a lot on the product side and also on the support side. So, when will the next version come out? The next major version? Next major version, if it's a 10.1 or an 11, so we don't know about the name yet, because actually right now we don't know when this will be. It will be a next version when there's a need for it. Like really breaking changes will introduce a need to make a new major version. Right now we have lots of stuff to do. We can fix in that version 10. We will focus on that version 10 to make it more stable, more performant. You have seen a lot of stuff we did until now. We will introduce new functionalities like custom groups introduced to the product by adding a new app. So if there's a need for a new major version, we will do that. We will certainly clean up more things like how we connect to databases, how we do our queries. I had a very interesting discussion yesterday about that. So when we go that route, we will do that in a major release. But until now, we are not feeling the force to have fast release on the major version, on the next major version. I think this is a good thing because you get more stability, right? We can more focus on making the current version stable. We can support less versions, which also allows us to focus on this support of that version, of course. From my point of view, this is a very good strategy to introduce more stability to the product. And believe me, it will not slow down any new functionalities or development. The other way around, I think we have shown that we could add a lot of functionalities and cool new features in the last year. So I think that was a good overview from Patrick and from Holger. So we will focus more on the app releases we will work more on these modular apps, and we have a lot of talks on the conference also about how to write an app. You're welcome to join that workshops, how to build an app and publish it on the marketplace. So hope to get more people involved into that topic. That will be awesome. Okay, let me see the next slide. Let me talk a bit about the quality. I'm standing here with a promise to have a very good version 10, and people who know me, I'm very deep into the commitment that this will be a very stable product, and quality is for me one of the main focuses on ownCloud. I have worked a lot in support before, and I know how it is when support requests come up and a system is breaking down. So I had that experience, and I think it's very, very important that we have a very good QA. So our QA team was growing a lot in the last year, and the QA team is partly here, so they have talks also. Sergio Bertolin will have a talk, and David Toledo will have a talk on QA, sitting in the last row here. The QA team is a very important team for me, and they are doing really good work. We have so many more people in the QA team. I think on the client side there's also talk about QA on the client side, which is a very interesting approach. From Summer is doing that, and if you are into that QA topic, you can have a deep insight. Look into what we are doing in the QA side. We have policies about our development, so actually changes in our code always have to be covered by tests. So Thomas Müller and Vincent are doing a lot of pull request reviews, and they only accept it with existing unit tests for covering the changes. This is a very good approach in an early phase of code changes to have changes tested. And then before we do a release, we have a dedicated release phase where we do a QA, and the QA team is doing two things to ensure the quality. We have test plans for quite any app we have, for the server core, of course, too. And we are testing a lot of manual stuff because not everything can be tested automated. On the other side, we are investing a lot in building more automated tests, especially acceptance tests, like you can call it acceptance tests or end-to-end tests. Like controlling the browser and doing what exactly you as a user do in the browser much faster. We're doing it much faster, automated, then ensuring that the outcome is really what you would expect for that functionality. And these acceptance tests are growing. We are putting a lot of effort into that. We are taking one app after another to add really such acceptance tests. And this is very, very important for me because this allows us to have more automated tests up front on more steps. Like we can build, we are investing in that test infrastructure, so we can build nightlies quite every night, and we can run all the tests there. We can find issues very fast, and support and QA is working very closely together. So if we have, if we find an issue, if we can reproduce an issue, we write tests for that, so that regressions will not come up, and we won't have an error twice. So it makes sense. A short outlook about the QA. We want to be very transparent on the QA work we do. We do a lot of QA work, and you can feel it about a very stable product you're using. But I would like to show off a bit more with our QA results. And so we are working in a little side project and try to make that test results, more visible to you and to provide you an overview on the test results. We call it the QA dashboard project. It will be a cool little dashboard where you just can see the nightly test results when we have test results for upfront releases. That you have insights into that. This is of course to gain your trust into the product, or also to provide feedback, because we're testing not everything, right? The more I do work with the QA team and deep dive into that topic, the more I see there's so much to test. It's like I can test the product with every database, with different servers, with different PHP versions, with different. I can test all the different functionalities. I can combine them. I can test with encryption or without. So there's a huge test matrix, and we cover a lot, but we don't cover everything. I think one information is very, very important for you. You need to know what we are testing, and when you plan to use ownCloud in another scenario, you need to know how good is that covered by our tests. That enables you to discuss with us, of course. So, hey, it would be cool if we would add more tests on this scenario or with that infrastructure. So, if you want to have Postgres and object storage and encryption tested, you can have a look then. Is that kind of a tested or not so well tested thing we support? So we want to have your feedback, of course, on our test matrix and improvements, suggestions and improvements on that. So this is on the QA dashboard. I think you might have a lot of questions later. Now I hand back to Holger and you get an outlook on the roadmap.
Yeah, thank you. QA continues to be one of the most important challenges, right? And this talk is about victories, challenges like QA, and future, the roadmap, where we go to. Of course, all of the things we're from now on saying, while we covered mostly the existing product till now, all of those things are subject to change at any time, so we might or might not be able to complete a certain offering, or QA might tell us, oh, this is not yet ready to be released, at which time we have to say, oh, then we'll have to spend a couple of additional weeks on bug fixing and cannot deliver based on schedule. Productivity, I started to talk with product design, frictionless. We started with the vision, where we say ownCloud is an open platform and is all about collaboration and security, and of course, productivity. In the productivity area, there are quite some additional things we are working on. Currently, probably the most number one from our customers in regards of productivity integrations is Microsoft Office integration. We've done quite some of it already. Microsoft Office exists actually in 4 different ways. One is on the mobile areas. So there are Office applications on Android as well as iOS. We have done the integrations which the document providers allow us on those systems, which means you can interact with ownCloud, you can get a file from the ownCloud app, you can save a file back into the ownCloud app right at your iOS tablet. What you cannot do yet are things which some of the commercial competitors in particular can do to make this even one click easier. And we want with you together work on that. For that, we have already joined the Microsoft program in that regards. there is an integration capability through a service called WOPI, which happens to be the same standard which also Collabora Online as well as OnlyOffice are using for their collaborative editing and interaction with ownCloud. And we want to bring that same experience into the Microsoft Office environment. So that exists on iOS and Android. It also exists as what's called Microsoft Online for Business on premises for customers. On that, there is a talk from one of our friends from CERN who shows a first implementation of this WOPI server, I think also tomorrow. But look for WOPI in the schedule, and there is a talk about that and those type of implementations. And then longer term, we also want to be able to integrate right into Microsoft Office 365 Online and be a storage provider backend for that, of course always as an alternative to what we provide natively inside ownCloud and for all of the users there. Another area people bring to us is additional external storage integrations, and like with Windows Network Drive, they want to have notifications from those. We are in the middle of working on a OneDrive integration, so if you're interested into that, please talk with us during the conference or afterwards. We're also working on Google Drive, and we are working as one of the Google Summer of Code projects. We're working on a new API implementation for Dropbox that's also introduced later. What's that productivity about? Yeah, often enough I get links from business partners, from other users to say, yeah, why don't you look at my photos on Dropbox? If I can put that right into my own cloud, I again have all this frictionless experience from one user interface rather than from many. And then some customers said to us, yeah, we're having already this Google Drive stuff, we really want to have you integrate with that. And then others came and said, yeah, this department has looked at Google Drive, but this other department is using OneDrive, and now they also want to have that one. So a lot of those integrations are coming from real life demand. We continue to work on full text search, also across clients through an API. First step in there is to enable the existing full text search application which communicates with the Elastic Storage Server, to enable that for 10.0, which has not yet happened. That will happen the next couple of weeks. And then we want to continue to work on that API and then bring search over time to Android and iOS, and of course to the desktop, and you all are welcome to help in that area. We do have a particular way of file organization, of inheritance from the folder I share things with, where the right to edit gets inherited throughout. Some people come, that's great, but if I share a folder, I want to give the right to the folder, then I have two files in there which I think should not be edited by those other people, and that's something which is not possible today. So in our working on that, we call this virtual data room, project room experience, where you have a different view on files and file access rights, where we want to make it way more flexible. We don't want to change the existing behavior. We think that's the default behavior, that's what ownCloud users are used to get, which is very frictionless, very self-service orientated, but does not allow all of the use cases described, or sometimes only allows them with a special workaround. So this would allow multiple owners, inheritance could be changed, etc., and we continue to work that out. There are a couple of ideas how a future files view could look like, and again, there is a talk on that. That's Friday morning actually, right at 10, from Felix Heidegger, who introduces some ideas how a future file view maybe could look like, and how this file experience could be changed. and this will be an open design process, and I'm really happy for everybody who will participate with him in that. Another idea we have as a product leaders team is there are so many really good web applications in open source out there. One example in the project management space, there is Kanban. It's a great web application, and instead of doing a new project management for ownCloud, which has way less features than what's already there, my idea is really let's provide a framework, let's provide things which make it easy inside ownCloud for such a web application to integrate into us, use the ownCloud user management, start integrating with other applications inside ownCloud, and make such a great web experience available, ideally with just an additional ownCloud app, which gets downloaded, installs everything else itself, and starts behaving great for the customer and increases productivity that way. And that will avoid double work, yet another project application, or yet another chat or video application or whatever. We really want to be the open platform where others integrate and where other web applications integrate to give this open collaboration experience to users. Some things certainly are a little bit shorter term, and those are missing APIs for versioning in Trashbin, some graphical user interface rework in that area, like I want to be able to see who did the last version in there, show last modifier, show the size. One of the most requested features I currently think is group quota. Who wants group quota? Some. So this comes very, very often for some reason, so we're going to try to do that for 10.04 or 10.05 already. People want to rename groups, but some of that is taken care of with custom groups, I think, now, so we'll have to see how that works. And then with the introduction of the guest user came a new idea, which was like, oh cool, I have this guest user, and this guest user might be a freelancer at starting point or some outside person at starting point. Now I promote that person to be in my directory service. How do I now bring this guest user to my LDAP without having him lose the access to things which are already shared with him? So those are things we're going to work on and increase productivity for everybody. A little way longer term idea happens to be an improved notification system, and Patrick will introduce that idea to you.
Thank you. So it's me again. I want to shed some light on two roadmap items. This is the first one that lie at the bottom of my heart that are also important for customers, and I'm pretty much sure that also community people will very much love these improvements that we're planning on. So we say ownCloud is a content collaboration platform, and so for collaboration, basically it's very important to have a nice notification system for that. Users that want to collaborate with others also get notified about changes and know what is happening right at the moment when things happen. So we already have some notification stuff. I hope you can at least somehow see that screenshot. This is from the Activity app, which on the one hand provides an activity stream where you can see all the actions that happen on files where you have access. You can also, of course, limit those to the things you actually want to see, so that helps you maintain an overview. And also you can have mail notifications for certain events. So this is cool. nice so far, but I think there's much room for improvement. So what I would really like to see in the future is having a third column, which enables you to configure, so push notifications. For that, we already have also this notification app, is maybe also to mention, which places this bell indicator in the top bar. And I want to have for all kinds of actions, this needs to be configurable, of course, so that you don't get too many notifications. I want to have, on the one hand, notifications in the web UI via this bell icon. I want to also push those notifications to the clients, meaning you get a file share and your desktop client instantly tells you that this happened, or even you get a push notification on mobile. This would be very awesome. So you get a file share and your phone rings and you see that instantly. You can use it directly and do whatever you want with it. This, of course, as I said, needs to be configurable, as most of our phones will ring too often already. And also, we want to introduce some new notification events, which extends this concept. Probably you know it if you send or receive, if you receive a federated share, you first have to accept it. And we want to make this, we extend this to all shares. For that, a user can't just put a share or a shared file into your ownCloud space. You will have to accept that. So you have more control. You can also decline it if you don't want it. Also, for user management notifications, this is something which is rather requested by our customers. For example, when your storage quota is exceeded, you want to get a notification that you can approach your administrator, for example, and tell them you need more storage space. Or also when you're added to a group. For custom groups, we already have that. Also, as I said, notifications about activities of other users and shared contents. Also, many customers are interested in having notifications for administrators. For example, when a virus is detected, that when a user uploads a file. So far on the notification concept. And now, there's something which is quite related to that, and which, in my opinion, is awesome. This is event-driven communication between ownCloud components. So, to drive you into that, I would like to first get a step back and look at how ownCloud works today. So, if you're logged into ownCloud in your browser and looking at a shared folder, changes by others will only be noticed if you reload the page, if you refresh. And same as for the clients. Clients do poll the server, I think all 30 seconds, ask the server, do you have something new for me? Server says no. All 30 seconds. And this actually does not make much sense. It would be a lot better if the server told the client, hey, dude, I have something new for you. You can download that now. So what's the reason for that? PHP kind of behaves like a shy child in that it does only work on request. So you always have to tell it, do this. Meaning you refresh your page, for example, or the client asks. And it is possible to introduce a new technology for that, which is called event-driven communication. And this works the other way around then. So the server provides WebSockets and clients, and in that sense the web interface is also a client, connects to those sockets and gets notified upon some new events. So this requires an additional component, so to say, like a message queue processor that, there are different possibilities for that. We have not yet decided which one will be the best, but that's still open for discussion. Well, if we have that, once we have that, this opens many possibilities. For example, you push changes, file changes or notifications, so to say, to the clients. Clients don't have to poll anymore. Clients just wait for information that comes from the server, which of course reduces the performance footprint as unnecessary requests are not there anymore, are not needed anymore. And ownCloud will become real-time through this. I think many other web platforms where you don't need to refresh pages, where you just use it and something pops up. You just get notified, you have a new like or something. This will be possible if we introduce this technology in ownCloud as well. And of course, this makes the platform way more responsive. You can have, for example, dynamic file view. You just look at the file view, somebody uploads a file in that folder you're just looking at, and it pops up. You don't have to do anything, it pops up. So, and also we could introduce progress bars. For example, you upload a file and virus scan starts in the background. You can have a progress bar on how long it will take. So, I really like that. Still we have a lot of questions to solve on that, which will be the best way to get movement into this. And maybe one hint from my side, if you are interested, if you're a student, for example, wants to do a project on this super interesting topic, in my opinion, you can just approach us. We would be very happy to guide you through that and to do this together with you. So with that, I hand back to Holger. Michael.
Actually, Michael is next. Sorry. Great additional experiences on the desktop as well as mobile side. Again, some stuff longer term, we need all of you to help and step in, and some things might already come in the next couple of weeks. Michael.
So, it's me again. Okay, exactly. Some those topics have been mentioned before, and most of them will be covered more in depth later this conference. Some things we are working on in the desktop platform. There are planned improvements for the sync algorithm. We are discussing infinite profiles. Streaming instead of calling through every folder. We have other approaches too to improve the user experience. So it's interesting that the first files gets downloaded earlier. We are planning to support the guest app. One very new stuff that is already in the works. And we already have given this to early adopters users. The MSI installer for the Windows platform. So this is really the industry standard in big organizations that deploy Windows desktop software. So we've got asked for this for a very long time. And we are very close to have this. If you are interested to test this in your scenario, contact us. But we also will cover this in a later talk. A lot of rework is going on in the settings view, the activity tab, better understanding for users to see what's going on, or sometimes what's not going on, why do some files not sync. And we plan to support more and more server features like versions and trash bin, and we are trying there a hybrid approach to have a smooth workflow, bringing the user from the desktop client to the web. This also should work in the mobile ecosystem. We are working on own vendor improvements to make the clients more fit for your needs. Big step would be the virtual file system, that you can access much more files on the desktop platform than you really download. More flexibility there. Also some technical things. On desktop we reaching a new level of QA, automated QA. This is something we will, Samuel will tell us in another talk, where we explain how we cover all the Linux platforms we support, how we automatically test the graphic user interface of the clients. So I really recommend you to join this talk. Also, in the near future, we would like to start to implement or build the desktop clients with Qt 5.9 version, which allows us to support HTTP2, so another boost in performance for the desktop and client and server communication. On the mobile clients, a lot of platform stuff should work on all client platforms, like the guest app. Also, we are trying to implement the hybrid approach with the versions and trash bins. We are working to better support mobile device management system, following the standards from appconfig.org, where all the biggest vendors in the MDM world joined forces, and we would like to support this too. Also a lot of stuff going in on Blender. We will have another talk, what's going on the mobile, as told you before. On the iOS, they will present your new UI, which also allows us multi-select for some actions. And we are working on the cool new stuff that is possible with iOS 11. So we want to support this, and on Android, we finally solved the issue with the upload problems on the latest Android version. So this will be also covered in the special talk later in this conference. Yeah, that's from my side for now.
Great new stuff, and all of those user interfaces are certainly very equally important. And as you can see, this is all a lot of work, which also means we cannot do everything at the same time. On the desktop side, to give you one example, we're now saying, we would really like to have a virtual file system, and we're putting that one on the roadmap with something we really work on very intensively now over the next couple of months. I hope it does not take many years, but there are other requests on the desktop side which I could have put there, and just a quick comment on those. Very often mentioned one is local LAN sync. I could have put that one there, but then we wouldn't come to that one. Another one is incremental syncing, and both come often, but not often enough. But still, if somebody wants to tackle one of those really, really deeply in his heart and wants to get a group together to work on that, you're very welcome. Talk to our client team. I'm sure we'll figure something out. But for now, we're saying virtual file system is really that next challenge we want to figure out on the desktop side. And all of those different user interfaces really make the ownCloud platform, and all of those items shall be open, including this very clear open roadmap in many, many ways. So longer term, couple of areas on the technology side which you should be aware of. As soon as we do release a 10.1, is that it will be something which has some incompatibilities, will discontinue support for anything prior to PHP 7. We will also continue to work on the administration role concept, which very, very likely will mean that with such a version you will need access to the OCC commands to do any type of updates or upgrades. Yeah, the currently shipping web installer or web updater, which does some of that on shared hosting environments where you don't have that, will be discontinued. We are looking into HTTP 2, you already heard. In order to do that, we need to enable it on both the desktop and the server side. We think that will give us additional sync performance improvements, particularly for small files, but that requires Qt5.9. This one will not be incompatible with anything else, so look for that in the next couple of months. We're also looking heavily into monitoring via SNMP, in some ways the GUI, but we also think that we need some type of matrix database where all of the different metrics, like which shares did exist at a particular time, go into a tool, and it seems that Prometheus might be most, it's an open source project, matrix database and monitoring utility might be a good choice in that regards. Any feedback on that is certainly welcome. And last but not least, lot of requests come to us around scaling, storage, file systems, object storage, as well as database. I showed you earlier some recent advancements we have made in this area, but our goal continues to be an infinite scale. We have customers who are really exploring many, many borders, but infinite scale is what we want to do. And we're working on a couple of concepts around that, and let me back up and talk first a little bit about object storage. Object storage is coming. It is important for quite some customers and users for scalability. They also want to use cheaper cloud storages in some areas, but there are a couple of areas we have to enhance before object storage can be fully used in a 100% performant way. It's already in the offering, and with some upcoming changes and reworks, we will also make it available as an open source offering for our primary storage. And details about that really from Thomas Müller I think on Friday. And he talks a lot about his hate and love experience with object storage. So a couple of examples where we want to do enhancements and where we have challenges around that. One is the upload and the syncing from the desktop. So what happens today when you have a 2 GB file, we are chunking that into 10 MB pieces. That's called a chunk. And each of those pieces are uploaded to the server, and the ownCloud application server has the duty to put all of them together. If I'm in a file system experience, I put all of them together, I have my 2 GB file locally on the system. At that point, I just make a move, and I move it from the local file storage to the network file storage, or something else I typically have, the primary file system of ownCloud. In the Linux kernel, that is a very, very fast experience. It takes a couple of milliseconds to do, the rest is done by the file system in the kernel, I don't have to worry about. If I have an object storage, the local system at that point of time starts the upload into the object storage, which might be far away and it's a REST call, so it's not all done by the Linux kernel, it's actually not done by the Linux kernel at all, it's done inside the ownCloud application. So if that now is not a 2 GB file but a 15 GB file, and I need to upload that to my object storage and it takes longer than my PHP timeout configuration, I have a challenge. Yeah, there will be an error message and the user will not know what has happened. So this is an area which we need to improve. What do we need to do? We're going to upload the chunks into the object store one by one. There is in the S3 protocol, which we're going to focus on exclusively for the time being, at least as a company. In this S3 protocol, there is a way to append additional chunks into objects. So we're going to use that, and then you will have that many gigabyte file at the time in the object storage where it landed already on that server from a user experience perspective. Additional challenges are with versioning as well as trash bin. We found out that quite some popular object storages are actually warp devices, which means they cannot delete anything. And deleting generally is versioning is something where today we're just uploading the new version, we're moving file IDs around, and that's just not the way it should be done in an object storage world. So we need to redo this whole area of versioning and trash bin and do it particularly for object storage in order to provide greatest experiences there. And while we're at that, we want, in order to provide a real infinite scale perspective, we want to put more of the metadata into that file system or into the object storage. However, that likely will also mean that we have to introduce a NoSQL database in order to take care of that metadata, and that over time will provide us an infinite scale as we think it should really be, and provide one ownCloud system which can scale infinite instead of the advantages you can already leverage today from federation. So lots of advantages around federation, but only this infinite scale approach will bring us to replicative servers across the globe and an infinite scale. And I'm sure in the next couple of months you'll hear us more talk about how we're going to come to this infinite scale experience after we fixed all the nice hate and love relationship between Thomas and the object storage. Yeah, that's pretty much what we're going to work on in the next couple of weeks, months, probably for some of the items here, years, together with all of you and all the community members worldwide, as well as all the engineers we have inside ownCloud. Let's get the team up front. Thank you all for listening for now. Thank you. We're going to do a Q&A now. After this, there is lunch. John will A, show you the way, and B, he has put up signs so you know where to go. However, if you do not have a lunch voucher yet, right before you go to lunch is the right time to go to the registration desk and get one. That includes all ownCloud employees, of course, and everybody else. Go to the registration counter, get a lunch voucher if you do not have one. We're meeting here again at 2 p.m. and Cornelius, I think, wants to take a quick minute to introduce his 5-hour or 4 hours deep dive into ownCloud 101, which is, I think, ideal for everybody who has not yet hands-on administration experience with ownCloud. Give you 20 seconds.
Thanks. So, not more to say, just we're holding a workshop in room EV001. About 5 hours to dive into the basics of installing ownCloud and have a great user session for that.
Perfect. So for the basics, join Cornelius. For other stuff around the innovation appliance, around deep dives into certain areas, join us back here. We're going to start again at 2 p.m. And with that, let me open it for question and answers. Any questions? Just scream. Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot the name. On the far left.
Patrick?
Yes. You said the guest app is dependent on sharing. How is that meant? Is it like guests only exist in the database where when shared, it's shared with them, and once nothing is shared anymore, or once they have timed out, they kind of disappear if they are not used? Or?
So you were asking on the guests app, what will happen if guests don't have shares anymore? That was the question?
Or about, like, you said they're bound to shares. How do they relate exactly?
So, okay, maybe. For an overview, a guest is invited by sharing with him. So, that's the one thing. And we cannot say, or the inviting user cannot say, okay, I want to remove this guest anymore, as there are probably other shares from other users. So we said a user or a guest user becomes deactivated, disabled, so to say, when there are no shares left. And this is something, I think, what you are asking is something we don't have yet, but which is planned for the future release. I said there are many things in the pipeline that are coming regarding the guest app. This will be an automated cleanup disable thing. So, when a guest, as I said, when a guest has no shares left, he will be disabled and cannot log in anymore. So, if he receives a share again, he can log in again, okay? But if there are no shares, he cannot log in. So the user stays in the database, but is disabled. You can disable all users in the user interface, maybe you know that. And this will become an automated process for guests. No shares, cannot log in anymore. And then, as an admin, you will be able to specify a grace period, let's say 1 month. And when this period is reached for a guest, 1 month, being disabled for 1 month, it will be deleted automatically. And you will be able to configure that. Answered your question?
Yes.
Yep.
Are silly questions allowed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are no silly questions.
The first question is, you talk about extensions. Is there a well-documented API?
Question was, is there documentation for the APIs for extension?
Good.
It's good documentation. Yes, I think we have a very good documentation. So I mainly find my way through
public?
What?
Is it public?
It is public. Yeah. On our ownCloud website, you find a link to the documentation, and the documentation is split into 3 sections. It's a user manual, it's a developer manual, where you will be happy to find all our app framework, app tutorials, and the APIs documented. And we have an administrator documentation. Matthew Setter having a talk today about documentation. So if you have feedback, he's the right guy to provide feedback. And we are continuously working on documentation. So if something is missing, like any API you're missing, or the documentation for an API is missing, we are happy to clean that up and provide that to you. So if there is anything missing, just let us know, please. Another question?
The second question is about encryption. If I have an end-to-end encryption and I share a file with 10 persons, I have to encrypt it 10 times with the public keys of the 10 persons. How do you make it?
Okay, one addition to the first one, there is a 3-hour workshop on doing an application and bringing an application to the marketplace on Friday. with public yarns, and I think Florian will join as well. And if anything is missing on the API documentation side, I think those are, in addition to Matthew, the right people, because their task is really to encourage as many people as possible to do additional ownCloud applications and make them available as extensions in the marketplace. Second question was on encryption. So if I do end-to-end encryption, then you have to decrypt that 10 times. How is that dealt with? I guess particularly with a large file.
Encrypt 10 times.
Yes, I have to encrypt it 10 times. How is that dealt with, particularly if it's large? There is also a talk on that, which is great, which has all the details. What I can tell you is what we're using is a mechanism which has symmetric keys, and basically for each file a encryption key is generated automatically. You cannot see that one, and then this encryption key is encrypted 10 times, and this is actually what takes care of the decryption on the other end. So we don't need to decrypt, and we only need to encrypt once, and then the key we used for that encryption is then again encrypted 10 times and then shared out together with the other file, so you are able to decrypt it afterwards. That's the mechanism, and details on that are in the end-to-end encryption session, which I think is tomorrow, but I might be missing. Either tomorrow or Friday. And there is a full 45 minutes about that.
So you only deploy the symmetric key.
Yeah, right. So additional question on keys.
Then I have understand.
Yeah.
And the third question is I think ownCloud can become a business critical thing. So is there a hot backup mechanism?
Okay, question is, ownCloud can become a business critical thing, which we certainly all very much agree with it, and I think for quite some customers it is already pretty business critical, particularly if it's included in the workflows, and our goal there is certainly to be the second most application after email very, very quickly, and the long-term roadmap would be to beat email on file sharing. We'll see when that happens. We do a little celebration. I mean, for the first time, the analysts say now file sharing has really overtaken email sending in regards of sharing of documents and data. So, in regards of hot backups, we have the ability to do backups. What you need to do with backups is typically that you have the ownCloud application server itself. That configuration needs to be backed up or made available in an HA way. And then you have to actually do snapshotting of the database state and the storage state at the same time, because you need to have the exact states of both the database and the storage in order to be able to recover and restore a complete ownCloud installation. That's kind of what you have to do from my perspective. Any additions on hot backup or clarification on the question?
My question was, is there a possibility to use one server, and if this server is down, I make a switch and the next server?
Yes. The question is there a possibility to have multiple servers to have a high available system? Yes. You can have a high available system using standby servers, or you can also split the load on multiple servers. We have servers setups out there which are completely high available. So that is totally nicely working with ownCloud. I think Thomas Berger, when he shows about our Docker images, yes, a high goal also to show you how to do this in a high available manner. So you will show the scale out for that scenario.
So I'm asking questions.
No, it's okay. Thank you for the question. Massimo.
So a question for Stanley is about synchronization. As you know, we are, this is ownCloud, and what we are building on top is becoming mission. So you mentioned testing, and also to make the testing more visible. Recently, ownCloud shows the behavior where actually you also publish the client, the synchronization client for the last version. In our environment, we try to have everyone with the latest version of the sync client, but this is not possible. There is a latest which is back in months, if not years. So it would be nice that if you publish, let's say, ownCloud 10 results with a certain client, you also take a little bit of a trail of the 5 last versions or something, whenever possible, of course. Because at a certain point you might have different situations, because with 10.0 the client 2, 3, 4 works in a certain way. You go to 10.1, 2, 3, 4 stops working or works better. So it would be nice that we expose also this dimension.
So thank you very much. The question was, is it possible in automated testing to cover also old versions of the clients? Currently we test the current version of the client against different server versions. We test the future or nightly version of the client. We are testing update scenarios, so the update from old versions of the client to new client versions. Those things will only be visible on the QA dashboard Felix mentioned, but we are collecting more use cases, and this is a great idea to also cover older versions of the client. Yeah, should definitely go on the list that needs to be built. So thank you very much for this.
Of course, there is a limit to that, right? There are certain client versions which were not supported with newer server versions. We sometimes even put a message then into the server that they are now obsoleted, and some customers have even said, that's too early, but at some point we just have to make the cut. We cannot support old clients there forever. And of course, we are proud about the new innovations in the new clients, and we also offer tools, including our own update message, which I think most of you have seen on the desktop client. As part of the own branded experience, it's also possible to have your own update messages to those end users, and you can have your own download endpoints, etc. So don't forget to apply those things to actually ask the users as much as you can and help us to upgrade them to the newest versions. Bugs are away, performance is better. While we test it, and we're happy to take that feedback, the latest and greatest clients are certainly the ones with the least issues and the best performance and the greatest overall productivity experience.
I have a question about object storage. You want to move to object storage, which I think is a very good idea. We've been playing around with it a bit already, and we see that if you use internal primary storage, the object name in the bucket is not the original file name, if you will, but it's like an internal ID. So have you thought about what that means for doing a file scan? Because now you can do a file scan on the POSIX file system, you get a file name back, there was some discrepancy, or how would you do that if you have object names which are like encoded?
Yeah, let me repeat that question first. On object storage, how do you now, when customer or user loves to go to object storage, like I think I said earlier, many do that, we very much agree with that direction. We are now just having the file IDs there, and I think in answering and then pointing you to really our technical experts on that who now joined us in the room, Thomas Müller and Jörn are there, and Thomas has tomorrow, I think, right? the laugh and hate experience with object storage, which I really recommend for everybody who is thinking about going towards object storage. The reality is you should not need to do a file scan, to be honest, in object storage. Why? We are using object storages exclusively. Other than with file storage, it is not part of the concept today that anybody else uses the objects we are using. This has some advantages and some disadvantages, and I think Thomas' session is really the best to go into those details. And then I happily learn about it myself and will be able to publish something around that. But a file scan and object store should actually not be needed at all. Yeah.
So you mentioned the check sampling and the feature of having different C flags in the segment. Are you going to support multi-variable updates? Which ones is the which kind of algorithm for check sampling? Is it just variable in multiple ones, so like modified other anything else?
Okay. The question is for check sampling implementation, if it's possible to use different algorithms. Yes, I think so. As far as I understood the implementation, but I'm not the expert, it is possible to switch that algorithms. Vincent?
We store multiple checksums in the database, and I think the desktop client computes some of them. I think with an Adler 32 or something at the moment, with SHA-256 probably as well. But if you have your own clients, or you could also use your own algorithm. You need to fit it on the server side. It need to be supported by PHP, of course, and also designed by the client.
So I think the short answer is we do think yes, and by the way, that's Vincent, our server team lead. But the experts are right now not in the room. You can ask for that. That would be Markus Götz on the desktop side and Ilya on the server side. Ah, there is Ilya. So he knows best. Ask him, and I'm sure you'll figure something out on this checksumming. But
just SHA-1. Officially just SHA-1, but you can switch it if you like.
Okay, so the answer continues to be yes, it seems, and you'll have to figure out with him together how. It's certainly something which is not documented yet. We were asking about great documentation before, right? That's kind of the answer to that. Any other pressing questions for today? Not yet. Okay, great. I think, thank you from all of us. We might actually see that at least I will be available every lunch, at the beginning of every lunch break for questions. We'll have to see who else will join me. I guess most of the time the people who had their presentations right before that. Of course, in many talks there is enough time to ask questions in between, and of course in the longer workshops like this afternoon with Cornelius, you can ask any questions about administration of ownCloud. So really happy when you join us back for that, or for the innovation appliance and the ongoing talks here. And with that, have a great lunchtime, and thank you so much for listening.